I read 12 books in the month of June, and that's so exciting. Once again, I have a lot of stats for you guys. I really enjoy doing the stats part of these. I've realized that I really like statistics. I like data. I just like the data of it all. For the month of June, I read 12 books, 5,062 pages, and I read 10 romances, 2 fantasy. I had 1 2-star, 7 3-stars, and 4 4-stars for an average rating of 3.25 stars, or 3 1/4. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first book that I finished for the month of June was Say You Swear. I already have a video out on this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I did end up giving this one 3 stars. It felt like a very nice Wattpad book and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy this. I think a lot of people are really going to love this. It just wasn't my wheelhouse, if you will. It's not something that I am going to go and pick up again, but it is a book that I would recommend to certain people. And I can name like a ton of people that I feel would absolutely love this story, would absolutely love these characters, would resonate with the characters and everything. So for that, I am giving it 3 stars because I think overall it was good. I do feel like every trope was in it at some point. So the next book that I read was Crossroads. I absolutely adore Devoney Perry. In my opinion, she can do no wrong. I gave this book 4 stars. It is a cowboy romance. It's about this girl who moves back to Montana to basically take over her ex's ranch, and he doesn't know. It gets heated, to say the least. But I really, really, really loved all of this story. I think the romance was perfect. I think that it just was very swoon-worthy, and I really loved that she gave you little nuggets of the other characters to continue the trilogy. I think there's only 3 books in this series. The next one is coming out sometime in August, I want to say. I'm just very excited to continue this series though, because I really liked these characters. I love the Haven River Ranch series. It's nice. It's a nice thing. She also wrote the Edens series, so if you are familiar with those books, I read the first 2 in a video I did with Tiffany Leanne, who's a YouTuber. Go check that out if you want to know more about Devoney Perry's writing. But I definitely recommend this. 4 stars for me. I read Leather and Lark. I'm gonna be honest, I've had such a hard time reading this. I've flopped between ratings. I think I'm gonna land on a 2-star. Final answer, I think I'm landing on a 2-star. I really didn't like the characters in this one. I feel like Lachlan is just the weakest person I have ever met in my entire life. And this man is supposed to be very dangerous. And yet he seems always scared. He seems always concerned, always on edge. And I'm just like, for somebody who's supposed to be invincible, you are not at all. I feel like Lark is such an amazing character, and in real life I do not see them getting together because I feel like Lark needs somebody who would match her energy, and Lachlan's not it. Like, he is annoying to say the least. And I felt like their romance went from 100 to negative 8,000 to 2 million in 3 pages. And it's just so confusing. I don't understand Lachlan. I don't understand why he cared when he didn't need to care. It just was so much. And then the whole reasoning for the book felt so flat. Like, I was like, okay, you could have done so much more with this. It's a marriage of convenience trope, and I feel as though she could have made it a lot stronger. She could have made the reasoning for the marriage a lot stronger. There were things just like right there for her to grab, and it just fell flat for me. So I gave this one 2 stars. I next read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This was a book club pick that I read, and I thought this was super cute. I really liked it. I will say there's a lot of cursing, and I don't know if I'm just more sensitive to it recently or something, if something's changed in my diet taste of books, but for whatever reason, I was reading this and I was like, is there a reason why we are swearing this much? There are spice scenes, but I think there's only 3, and it's very much towards the end. Honestly, I would not rate this a very spicy book. I would probably give it 2 out of 5 jalapenos. The other book, don't read that if you don't like spice. Just stay away from that one. But this one, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like this is kind of your standard typical romance book type thing. Just a lot of cursing. And it's jarring. I know a lot of people don't really care about cursing, and that's fine. Like, that's fine if that's what you prefer, like, or don't care about. It's just when you are someone who is like around people who never curse, it's super jarring when it's like every paragraph there's a curse word and you're like, what are we doing here? Like, people talk like this? Is that real? I then read Light Lark, and you guys, why did I absolutely love this book? I gave it 4 stars. It was phenomenal. I thought the magic system was so unique and different. I really loved how they did everything. I really loved the characters. Each character have their own traits and personalities. It's almost as if these characters, like each character was written by a completely different person because their personalities are so different. And so I don't know why people don't like this book. I don't know if it's because like there just was this huge hate train or something. Also, like, I saw a lot on Book Talk where people were talking about the sun and how it was being talked about as if it was an egg. I thought that the line was fine. I don't remember the exact line, and I'm not gonna go look for it, but it's somewhere along with, like, she's watching the sun go down and she's talking about how it's like almost melting into the horizon, and she says it looks as though an egg has broken and like yolk is coming out. Like, it's just like pouring out on the water. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that line. I thought it was totally like almost poetic even. And then I don't know, like, I really loved this book though. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was phenomenal. All the characters are so good. I think all of the drama was great. I think the tension was great. And I think just like understanding the curse and everything like that was so good. I loved this book. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I next did a 48-hour readathon where I read 5 books in 48 hours. And I read the whole Chestnut Springs series. That video is coming later, but I just want to say that in that video, I give these books ratings, and I'm taking it back. I'm taking back those ratings because I rated some books pretty high that now that I'm looking back on it, do not need to be that high, like at all. This entire series is a 3-star series. I'm gonna be honest, like, after finishing the series and really thinking about it, I don't think I'll ever read another Elsie Silver book again, just because it's not my style. It's just not for me. It's truly just not for me. It's for a lot of people. I'm very much in the minority. It's just not something that I felt was original enough. We have Elsie Silver at home. It just wasn't for me. So the first book of the series is Flawless. So this is one of the books that I originally gave 4 stars. I'm gonna drop it down to 3. I think it's a 3-star book. I feel like this is almost forgettable. So this is about Rhett and Summer, and Summer is basically Rhett's babysitter. He kind of has a personality problem with the media, and he's losing sponsorships because he's like a rodeo cowboy type of thing. So she goes and basically babysits him, and then they start this chemistry and they start this bonding, and then they start a relationship. The thing is, these two were the same character in different fonts, and like it's very obvious to the reader that they are the same person. They're both very bullheaded, very stubborn, like their head is as strong as flint, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it just, I don't know, it was very frustrating to read about what they don't like about each other, and it's like, but that's who you are. That's what you do. I don't understand how you can be so hypocritical right now. I thought that the overall romance was fine. I mean, all in all, was it good? Yeah, it was fine. I know a lot of people that I would recommend this to. The next book in the series is Heartless. This is book 2. I gave this one 3 stars. I think I'm gonna keep it at 3 stars. So this is Cade and Willa. And Cade is 13 years older than Willa. Willa is his son's nanny, and they start this relationship. And Cade is like super grumpy, and Willa is super alternative, and she's got piercings and tattoos, and she's so cool. That's another thing. There's an age gap in all of her books, in all of them. And it's not like a small age gap. It's kind of, I'll talk about the age gap a little bit later, because there's one book in particular that I found so problematic with the age gap, and it's not for the reason that you think it is. But with this one, there's a 13-year-old age gap, which I think is fine. Like, it's fine for the age gap. But it gets brought up so much. And I was like, why are we talking about this so much? Why does it matter to you? You want to be with this person, yes? Then why are you so concerned with the 13-year-old age gap? Why do you keep talking about it? Like, why do you keep mentioning it? It was so frustrating. I've said what I needed to say. It's fine. The plot was weak at best. The characters were characters. I feel like Cade needs to just get over himself already. Like, it's not that deep. And I think Willa needs to get over herself because, again, it's not that deep. The next book in the series is Powerless. I think I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. I think I rated it 3 stars, but I'm gonna give it 3 stars. This one has to do with Jasper and Sloane. I kind of like Sloane, but I don't like Jasper because, honestly, like, you have to be able to communicate. Like, it's so stupid. The miscommunication is 110% Jasper's fault because he's so full of himself. Like, once again, all of these characters are super full of themselves. There is, I think, a 5-year age gap in this one. It's not terrible. I think it's just like 5 years. But Jasper is this NHL hockey player, and Sloane is a ballerina, and they were friends. They've been friends for a very long time. And then Jasper just abandons her, like, just abandons her friendship. She gets engaged to this horrible person, and, like, Jasper's mad about it. And it's like, buddy, you don't get to throw a tantrum that she's getting married. Like, you just don't. Obviously, the wedding gets called off in, like, the very first chapter. I think it's, like, the first chapter or second chapter or something like that, where she, like, runs away from her wedding. In your 30s, if you don't know how to have a conversation like an adult, there's a lot of problems going on with that. Like, you need to be able to sit down and have a full-blown conversation and be able to explain what you are feeling in your head. You can just say, my head is very anxious and confused right now, and I don't know how to process these feelings. Like, just fill a girl in. That's all you have to do. You don't just storm off and assume that she's gonna know what that means. This is reckless, and this is the age gap that I have a problem with. This is with Theo and Winter. Winter is Summer's older sister. She's 2 years older than him. In every single one of the other books, the man is at minimum 5 years older than the girl, but in this one, the girl is 2 years older than the guy. And it really bothered me because if you're going to lean into the age gap trope, then you should be able to lean all the way in. And I felt like she copped out because I feel like it's still not sexy for a woman to be older than a man. Literally, it gets brought up and Theo's like, you're 2 years older than me. There's barely even an age gap. Like, please, let's not. And exactly, like, there's barely even an age gap. There is no age gap. You guys could have been in the same college classes. You could have been in the same high school classes. Like, no, there is no age gap here. Like, please. I was so annoyed by that. I really was. I was so annoyed by that. Also, this is pregnancy trope. I do like how they did the pregnancy trope in this one, though, because instead of having to deal with her pregnancy, we went straight to baby's here, and we're dealing with the baby. And I preferred that so much more because I feel as though when in books women are pregnant, they're so hormonal. I'm pregnant. I'm super hormonal all the time. I literally just had an 11-minute rant about how I got woken up by a phone call and like immediately messaged my friend and I was like, I'm really upset right now. And so, you know, like, pregnancy is a very difficult time, and I don't feel like decisions need to be made when you're pregnant. Like, not major decisions. I could never, if my husband was like, hey, I'm thinking we should get another car. What do you, like, please do not make me make a decision, because I am not a rational person right now. I'm always hungry. I'm always hot. Like, I'm always uncomfortable. My body is sore. Don't make me have to make a decision. Like, it's not gonna happen. Anything more than what do you want to eat? And even then, last night I had a meltdown because I couldn't figure out what it was that I wanted to eat. I'm glad that we skipped the pregnancy part and went straight to, here's a baby. I thought that this was a lot better than the other books, so I want to say it's a higher 3-star rating, but it's still in my head a 3-star book. First of all, I don't think any of these books need to be this long. All of the books are over 400 pages. For what? All of these books could have been summed up in 300 pages or less, every single one of them. There's no reason to build it up this much. I don't feel like it added value to the characters. If anything, I think it took away from the characters. There's just so much lust, and there's a difference between lust and love. Like, just because you find someone attractive and you want to bang them doesn't mean that that's love. It doesn't mean they're considerate. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't give any value. And so I feel like it was very cheapened by that in all of the books, not just this one. In every single one of the books, I feel like their relationship kept getting cheapened. They kept bringing it back to a physical, lustful level. And they would say like, oh, I'm in love with them, but it's like, no, you're not actually. They're just really hot and they're in your environment and you might be ovulating. I don't know, because you just really want to jump them all the time. Okay, and now we have Hopeless. This is the last book in the series, in the Chestnut Springs series. And once again, I'm gonna give this one a 3-star. I feel as though this was so pointless. He's 35, she's 21. She's 21. There's a 14-year age gap in this. She brings it up at the very end, like what happens when I go to college and like I change and I grow up and this happens and that happens. And he's like, it's fine. Like, I love you in all of your stages and I will be there in all of your stages. But like, here's the thing. He says in the book, you would not like me when I was 22. Like, thank goodness that we are not the same age, because you would not have liked me when I was 22. I'm not the same person. And it's like, exactly. Like, exactly. She's going to be 100% different in 14 years. They are moving quickly. There is a lot of movement happening in this. This is another marriage of convenience, like fake engagement, marriage of convenience type of thing. And again, just such a weak reason for it. Like, it was, the reasoning was so bad that no one in the book even believed it. Like, it just was really terrible. I feel bad for Bailey because it feels like the whole town is against her due to her family, who she's really not anything like. She doesn't like her brother, she doesn't like her dad. Her brothers and her dad are in and out of jail. There's a lot of illegal activities being done by all of them, and they're pretty dangerous people, and she's trying so hard to get away from them, and she just can't catch a break. And then Beau comes home from the army. He was in a really bad accident. He's got bad PTSD. He's got burns on his feet. And he wants people to get off his back. So he proposes to Bailey. I don't understand the reasoning for this. I felt like this was such a weak book. I feel like, once again, such a weak book. We have all of these pages, and for what? And for what? This is one of my longest books that I read this month. For what? For what? Because let me tell you something. Not a single thing in this book, in these pages of this book, mattered for them, like, any reason. Bailey asks a lot of questions because she's very young, she's very naive, she doesn't know. She doesn't have any idea how to be in a relationship. She's never done anything more than get kissed. And so she's asking a ton of questions, as you do. And in my opinion, Beau's condescending. He's very hypocritical, and he can do whatever he wants, but Bailey can't not do whatever she wants. Like, she has to do what he thinks is best. And he basically parents her in their relationship. And it's, like, I guess, whatever. And I know people were like, oh, who cares about the age gap? No one cares about the age gap. Everybody cares the fact that he is literally acting like her dad at times. I'm giving this one a 3-star. The next book that I read was Nightbane. This is the sequel to Lightlark. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I gave this 4 stars. I'm gonna be honest with you though, like, I loved the whole thing, but I've had, like, I buddy read this with a friend of mine, and she struggled in the beginning part because she really does not like Oro, and Oro is a very large part of this book. And I can understand that. So some people I think are gonna read this and be like, I can't get into it, I'm DNFing it. Please, 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 you have to get to the end of this book. Like, I am begging you to try and just get to the end, because the major plot twist that happens after I read this, and I got my friend to finish the book. So she read it and she got to the last page. The whole book, she's like, I don't think I'm gonna pick up the third one. I don't think I'm gonna pick up the third one. She gets to the last page, she's like, I cannot believe that this happened. When does the third book come out? Like, it was so amazing. This book is the after effects of Lightlark, and there's basically an oncoming war due to what happened in the end of Lightlark. There's a war happening, and they're preparing for that, and they're getting ready for that. I don't want to spoil anything, but this was fantastic. Everything about this was fantastic. I will say this is heavy on the backstory, heavy on the befores, and heavy on like how we got to where we are. Worth it. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Okay? Absolutely worth it. It was phenomenal. It was so good. It was so good. I loved this. I loved it so much. I gave it 4 stars. Highly recommend this series, guys. I don't know why we didn't like Lightlark. I don't understand why we didn't like Lightlark, because it was so good. I think after reading Lightlark and Nightbane, I think I just can't trust book talk. I think I'm just not going to. I really don't even go on TikTok anymore. Anyways, I deleted the app from my phone completely and asked my friends to stop sending me TikToks because I can't watch them anymore. This was so good. Like, it was really, really good. And then the last book that I read was Swift and Saddled. I actually snuck this in. I read this in one day. I didn't think I was going to, but I did. This is another book for another book club that I was in, and I read it on the very last day of June. I like really truly snuck it in. I think one thing about Lila Sage is she really understands how to write characters that have very real trauma and problems, and it's not a plot point, it's just who the character is and how the character functions and how the character works, and it doesn't hinder them or anything. They don't need any special treatment or anything like that. They're not like different or odd or anything. It's so beautiful how they naturally work, and they just have a little extra to them. And so I really, really loved all of this. This is with Ada, who is an interior designer, and then this is the middle brother, Weston, or Wes is how he's called. It was so good. Guys, it was so good. And Ada's Greek. I was so floored. Like, her mom is from Greece, and I was so excited because I've never read about a Greek person who is a main character. Now, the Greek part of her life is not huge in the story. It's not a huge part of her in the story, whereas like in my actual life, like, it's very much a big part of my life being Greek, and my family is very loud, and we have a lot of Greek traits, and so there's a lot of Greek stuff going on. But, you know, he makes her spanakopita, and it was just the cutest thing I've ever heard. But I absolutely loved that we have a Greek main character girl. I don't really get to see those very often. Normally they're either just white or they're Italian. I don't know, like they're usually something else. There's not very many Greek women, I feel, that are like main characters. Now, there's a lot of side characters, you know, like I can't remember which book it was. I think it's an Emily Henry book. I want to say it's Emily Henry, but one of the side characters, like it's like a side character's wife, or something like that, and she was Greek, and so I just felt like we're typically like in the very, very back, and in this one we were the main character, and that meant a lot to me. And also I feel like I share a lot of things in common with Ada, just like the way that she deals with stuff like grief and all of these things. She is divorced. I'm not divorced. I've never been divorced before, but I can understand a breakup that was not healthy. I think like Wes is very relatable. He has depression. He suffers from depression, and so he's on antidepressants, and he talks about waiting for the other shoe to drop when like everything's going really well and his life is going well and the routine is working for him, but he knows that he will eventually get depressed. And so he's just constantly on edge because he's waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I feel like he's very relatable in that sense, whereas like Ada says, like, I would have never guessed that you struggled with this. And he's like, well, it's not who I am. Like, it's just something that I deal with. It's not like my personality. And I think that's just so beautiful, the way that she deals with things like this. In the other one, Done and Dusted, the main character in that one has really bad ADHD. The amount of lines that I messaged one of my friends and was like, oh my gosh, this sounds just like you. And to the point where she was like reading the quotes that I was sending her and crying, because she was like, this is exactly how I feel, like somebody's finally put it into words. Kudos to Lila Sage, because she's fantastic at writing these characters. That is Swift and Saddled. I think I gave this, I don't know if I said this, but I gave this 4 stars. It was really, really good. The light is being, I feel, oh, there we go. Okay. Much better. That's all the books that I read. I read 12 books in the month of June, and that was really cool. That was very exciting. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I want to know all about the books that you read in the month of June. I want to know everything. I want to know all the details, your favorite books, your least favorite books. I think if I had to pick a favorite book, I would either choose Light Lark, definitely was a favorite of mine this month, but I also really liked Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled. And I also really like Crossroads. So I had some really good reads this month though. Like I feel like they were really good. I don't have any complaints. That's all that I have for you. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much for just watching and all that stuff. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.